Charles Hoskinson never fails to make his voice heard, especially when it comes to matters of Ethereum. And that is because he has a hate relationship with Ethereum. Not a love-hate relationship, just a hate relationship. In fact, he wants to challenge it to mortal combat and destroy it. However, he said that Ethereum will not survive the next 10 years because he will personally gut Vitalik and then eat him as a protein snack. No, not really. He didn't actually say that. But he did actually say that Vitalik will not survive, Ethereum will not survive the next 10 to 15 years. And he blames it on layer 2 networks, the scalability solution that Ethereum chose. According to Charles, these networks, instead of solving Ethereum's core limitations, are pulling away value from the main chain. And that's true. Even though they do have to pay for blob space on Ethereum's main chain, they don't have to pay all the transaction costs, which means that Ethereum stakers aren't getting that money. He says Ethereum is becoming a victim of its own success and suggests that the ever-increasing complexity could be its downfall. Now, there is like segmented liquidity, and that is a huge, huge problem for Ethereum. And there is the fact that using the L2s doesn't actually benefit the Ethereum stakers directly, although they do have to pay for blob space. And blob space is also limited, so like Ethereum could basically lose out in the layer 2 scaling anyways. So Hoskinson does actually have a pretty good point here. And he actually thinks that it will actually collapse under competition and mismanagement. And Cardano obviously is one of the competition. So the thing is, like, he thinks that Ethereum isn't going to survive the next 10 years, but he has to make sure that Cardano survives the next 10 years. And one of the ways Cardano survives the next 10 years is by decapitating Ethereum and taking all its customers. However, that's actually being done right now by Solana. So Cardano has a lot of catching up to do as well. Cardano scales better than Ethereum, especially with Hydra. And Ethereum is doing the Euclid upgrade, which could actually cut back the fees, but it will still be very, very slow. And I do think the layer 2s will probably keep Ethereum alive for the time being. But I think ultimately the other layer 1s are going to surpass Ethereum. It might take more than 10 years for Ethereum to fall, but these things move very fast. And within the next 3 or 4 years, something like Solana could overtake Ethereum. And then it's just kind of like the dominoes starting to fall with like Solana, Sui, Cardano, SEI. And whichever one wins out of that might be the one to dominate L1s because they will all scale better than Ethereum. So that is a death sentence for Ethereum.